same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you."
Don't let the haters bring you down. Just keep going. Keep chasing your passions and dreams no matter what. Do not let negative people get between you and your goals.
Sean Combs' most damaging moment didn't come from a judge's ruling. It came when his daughters couldn't stay in the room. As testimony unfolded, the twins reportedly rushed out mid-hearing, visibly sick, while reactions in the gallery suggested spectacle rather than solemnity. Until that point, many believed the trial would end with justice or at least resolution. Instead, the girls' expressions mirrored the terror Cassie Ventura has described for years. Yet the jury still dismissed the most serious accusations. People inside the courtroom claimed the daughters weren't merely reacting to disturbing claims. They appeared to recognize familiar patterns, the cadence of voices, the recurring details, the same narratives prosecutors tied to recordings entered as evidence. Their father remained expressionless as witnesses described being pressured into explicit acts during encounters prosecutors portrayed as coercive and degrading. Then there are the numbers that refuse to sit quietly. Hundreds of bottles of baby oil seized from his estate. Roughly 100 civil suits waiting in line. A reported $20 million settlement with Cassie Ventura.
You had day 17 on the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet. Guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
The moment within a single day, despite all of it, the conduct was characterized as destructive yet consensual. His children couldn't even perform belief in that conclusion. The harshest punishment wasn't a prison term. It was a look exchanged in that room. The moment his daughters reportedly reconciled the father who bought luxury cars for their 16th birthdays with a man accused of terrorizing their mother, allegedly ordering violent retaliation against rivals, and paying to make surveillance footage disappear after an assault in a hotel corridor. And that's only what has surfaced so far. The uncut recordings, the material platforms won't fully release, are still looming. What hasn't been aired may matter more than what already has. Because verdicts may split hairs, but recognition doesn't need one. The instant Jesse and Delilah Combs rose from their seats and exited the Manhattan courtroom, the trial shifted. What had been a legal battle over
11. The court reaches few conclusions. 135 months would be more than necessary. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that, but 14 months time served would not be sufficient. A judge says
Sean Combs' future suddenly became something else entirely. A public fracture in the one shield he still had. His family. This wasn't a stage walkout or a performance for cameras. According to people present, the twins didn't calmly leave. They rushed out, covering their mouths, visibly shaken, as if confronted with something impossible to process. The timing mattered. Their exit coincided with the testimony of Daniel Phillips, one of the male witnesses who described what prosecutors characterized as orchestrated freak-offs, extended encounters where, according to testimony, women were pressured into sexual acts with higher participants while Combs allegedly supervised, issued instructions, and at times documented the events. What made the moment stand out was that the twins had already endured weeks of disturbing testimony without reacting. This was different. This was the point where they could no longer remain in the room. That's where the narrative begins to strain. If the defense's position, that everything was destructive yet consensual, were truly sufficient, why did his own daughters respond as though they had just been exposed to something criminal? And why, after hearing the same descriptions, did the jury still clear him of the racketeering charges, the very counts that carried the possibility of a life sentence? Those questions linger long after the courtroom emptied. The verdict itself exposed a striking legal paradox. In July 2025, after 8 weeks of testimony, the jury found Sean Combs guilty on 2 federal counts related to transporting individuals across state lines for illicit personal arrangements, charges carrying potential sentences of up to 10 years each. At the same time, they cleared him of far more severe allegations, racketeering, conspiracy, and human trafficking. Prosecutors had argued that Combs operated a structured criminal network, relying on employees and associates to arrange, conceal, and sustain these encounters. The jury rejected that framework.
If anyone, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's.
According to legal observers, jurors appeared unconvinced that his staff knowingly participated in an organized criminal scheme. That distinction matters, because it suggests the jury accepted much of the underlying testimony. Cassie Ventura's decade-long account of abuse, witnesses describing coercion, and hotel employees recounting payments to suppress surveillance footage, but stopped short of labeling it an enterprise-level operation. That's where the narrative begins to strain. If this wasn't coordinated conduct, how do investigators account for the volume of materials reportedly recovered, hundreds of bottles of baby oil, and nearly 1,000 containers of personal lubricants across multiple properties? Or the allegation that a hotel security employee was paid 6 figures to make footage disappear showing Combs assaulting Ventura in a corridor? Or court records indicating that these encounters followed such consistent patterns that participants described them as routine rather than spontaneous? Then came sentencing. Combs received 50 months, the maximum allowed under convictions, yet far below what prosecutors had sought. Judge Arun Subramanian described the term as substantial and deterrent in nature. But critics argue deterrence was never the real objective. The sentence reflected the narrowest punishment the system could impose on someone who, for years, appeared insulated from meaningful consequences. Combs' written statement to the court, "I lost my way. My downfall was rooted in my selfishness," read to many as carefully constructed contrition rather than genuine accountability.
The feelings that I have about the documentary, man, it was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts, you know, the 2 people from the courts. So it was nothing new. It was.
Ventura's words carried a different weight. In her statement, she expressed fear that his release would invite retaliation against her and others who testified. That concern isn't abstract. In 2023, Combs settled her civil lawsuit for $20 million in under a day, an outcome critics argue was less about reconciliation than containment. With the verdict now entered, the looming question isn't whether resentment remains. It's who stand between him and the people who spoke when silence was safer. The most consequential fallout didn't come from the verdict itself. It came from what followed, or more precisely, from what stopped happening. Sean Combs' business machine was long considered bulletproof. Bad boy records, liquor partnerships, brand endorsements, a meticulously maintained narrative of a self-made mogul who'd outgrown his past. But once his daughters walked out of that courtroom, the illusion began to collapse in plain sight. Behind the scenes, the money flow slowed. Employees managed through TriStar Sports and Entertainment reportedly saw payments delayed or failed to arrive altogether. Lawyers handling the swelling list of civil cases went unpaid. One longtime staff member resigned outright after a planned family dinner on the eve of sentencing fell apart when funding was denied. TriStar, according to insiders, refused to release cash without formal billing, requiring invoices as if dealing with an ordinary contractor. This was a man who once shifted millions with a single call. Now, even his inner circle was treating him like a financial liability. The damage extended to his real estate. The Holmby Hills mansion, the one with the recording studio, grotto-style pool, and celebrity neighbors, sat unsold for more than a year, listed at $61.5 million before quietly being pulled from the market in December. Federal agents had searched the property in March 2024, citing the discovery of controlled substances, weapon components, and vast quantities of intimate products. The house had become inseparable from the allegations tied to its owner, and buyers stayed away. Silicon Valley money can overlook a lot. This wasn't one of those things. What's striking isn't the chatter among neighbors, those sharing a block with Jennifer Lopez, and Kylie Jenner invites its own awkward silences. It's the absence of noise around the property itself, because there's one part of the estate rarely discussed: the basement. Agents documented what was visible during the search, but former staffers have long whispered about lower-level rooms designed for privacy, soundproof spaces that were never fully examined, at least according to publicly available records. With the mansion now off the market and out of sight, the lingering question isn't just what might still be down there, it's who benefits from making